Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us for another one of our webinars. I am Selma. I am an expert at email marketing, and I've been with CakeMail for a bit. And I'm here today with my colleague Isabel, who's here to help out and answer your questions along with me. So we're just going to start off quickly with a little intro. We're gonna go over how to create your campaign today, the different elements to add to your content and the different designs. So we're gonna be going over a few elements. We're gonna start off with the different types of emails, types of content, and types of contents you can use for your campaign, subject lines, and our best tips on how to use one, how to optimize your pre-header, your sender and the importance of it for your brand, the different anti-spam laws that you need to know about and that you need to respect, how to choose your template and their display, your brand consistency, how to customize your content, different visual elements like emojis, videos, and images. And finally, we're gonna end it with a few testing on mobile and dark mode. Now, there are different types of emails and different types of contents. It all depends generally on your vision and your identity and the different needs that you might have towards your audience. Generally, we would be sending out newsletters. That could be anything from latest news, updates, case studies, events, or special offers that you'd be sending from your company to your contacts. Now, the key element to remember with newsletters is the regularity. They're all based on consistency and generally have a certain predefined time space. So let's say, for example, you'd be sending out a newsletter monthly for a whole year, or maybe you would be sending it weekly, bi-weekly. It all really just depends on your vision and how regularly you want to be engaging with your contacts. Now, there are different things that you could be sending out, different types of contents like promotional offers, for example. You could be sending out anything from discount codes to specials to coupons, anything to kind of foster the special feeling to your subscribers, the one thing that would give them perhaps a reason to engage with you more. You could also be sending out new products or service updates, just to keep up with your audience, give them the latest bits and tips that they have to know about. You could also be sending out event invitations. Surely you've received conference invites for this webinar. You've received reminders, you've received, you will be receiving recordings. So different types and sets of emails that you could be sending out to engage with your audience once again. And finally, you could also be sending out educational content. For example, guides, tutorials. Say, for example, you have an educational blog, then you would maybe be sending out tutorials, little snippets of your guides. It could really be anything as long as you, again, personalize it to your brand and to your identity. Now, the strongest part about email marketing is that it allows you to target and engage with your audience. Now, there are a few good ways to do that, and we generally recommend just incorporating some short and engaging elements to your content. For example, article introductions. Again, say for example, you have a blog, you're posting articles on your blog, you might be sending out emails with the little article introductions just to give them that little edge of curiosity to actually click and go to your blog. It could also be links to your website. Again, you have a blog, you could be redirecting your audience to your blog just to kind of link the persona to your email, just to give them that little identity. Same goes with images and videos. They just give you the little dynamic touch that you want to your email, just things to give them visuals and to attract their attention to different parts of your email. Headlines are also really, really nice to grab attention. They allow you to give that bold little title and just grab their attention anywhere you would like on your email. Lists are also nice because they allow you to break the flow of slow or maybe more boring-ish structure. So they allow you to bring in little bullet points, little lists. It depends on what you want to get across to your audience. But they're really nice, and we really generally recommend using them for summaries, maybe bullet points, anything that you like. And finally, keywords. Keywords are very important because people can sometimes be reading along and not necessarily reading the entirety of your email. So keywords allow them to get the gist and the main idea of your email without necessarily reading through everything. So remember, leverage these elements and make sure that you have a dynamic email to send out to your contacts. Now, there are a few things that you might notice generally when you receive an email. They're essentially titles in your inbox, but today we're going to be breaking them into what they really are. Now, right off the bat, as you can see on the illustration over here, you would have a big bold title. That's your sender name. That could be your name, your company name, brand name, anything that tells us who you are. And it's a very crucial part of your campaign because it tells us this is a legitimate sender and this is who I want to engage with. We're going to be touching base on a few different elements as we go through the presentation, but just remember your sender name is the first one that pops up and it's very important. Now, right below it, you would have in a maybe less bold font, your subject line. This is sort of a title and a premise onto what your content is going to be about. It tells us the topic, maybe if you're doing sales, then it tells us you're doing a sale. You can customize it and personalize it, but it just tells us what the content is going to be about. And finally, you would have a pre-header. Now, pre-headers aren't mandatory, but they are necessary to a good, successful campaign. And this is why we recommend them so much. Essentially, a pre-header is a preview onto your the body of your text. It could be a little enticing title, just anything that would spike out the curiosity of your contacts. Now, in order to really leverage your subject line, we do have a few tips that you could keep in mind for the future. The most important part about your subject line is that it needs to be clear and concise. Now, when we say that it needs to be clear, it needs to basically clearly state out the purpose of the email. It needs to arouse curiosity without exaggeration or lying. It also needs to be short, so aim for a maximum of maybe 9 words. We would estimate this to 60 characters. Now there is a very important reason for this, and it's because the way your subject line displays on different medias, so be it your desktop, maybe you're using a laptop or a phone, it might look different. And this is why we recommend to keep it short, because longer ones might get cut out in the middle. Remember to also keep it concise. So use powerful emotional words, things that again arouse curiosity and just grab the attention of your reader. Action-oriented verbs are also a good way to grab the attention and just get them to take action upon reading through your email. We also recommend avoiding anything that may seem suspicious. Now, this is a bit tricky. We're in an era where everyone is sending out mass emails, and you don't want to fall within in the junk folder of your contacts. You don't want to be suspicious or appear as maybe an illegitimate sender. So we recommend avoiding any excessive use of capital letters and exclamation marks, because that's generally phishing behavior. Anything that says urgent, make money fast, anything that might make you look like a scammer is a no-go. Now, onto the pre-header. We've mentioned previously the importance of your pre-header, but it essentially allows you to grab the attention of your audience. It gives them a little snippet, something to look at, to know what your email is going to be about. So we recommend that the preheader, essentially, again, it allows you to add the relevant information to your subject line. It works as a way to complete or complement your email. It also displays differently on mobile and desktop. I said it earlier, but I'm saying it again. It's very important that you keep it short and concise because it displays differently on different platforms and different medias. So remember to not put any kind of crucial information in the pre-header. So for example, you're sending them a code, a sales code, discount codes, anything of the sorts, anything that could be really important. Try avoid putting that in the pre-header, or the main bits need to be in the body of your email. It also needs to be anywhere between 30 and 80 characters. It can be a little bit longer than your subject line, but it needs to be short still. And focus on essential information at the beginning. If you have something that you want to get across in your pre-header, make sure that it's at the front of your email to make sure that it doesn't, again, get cut off in the middle. Now, I've put a few examples that you could look at on just to emphasize how differently your subject line and your pre-header look on different platforms. So be it your mobile, be it your laptop, they will display differently. Now, I've also added a few references to see what that also looks like on dark mode. So as you can see on the top one, this is a screenshot from a mobile phone. So as you can see, the subject line and pre-headers are displaying in certain ways. They're getting a little cut off. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, you might want to use maybe more action-oriented words, get the message across faster. Now, we've talked about your sender, but there is no amount of times that could be enough to emphasize how important your sender is. Essentially, what you want to remember is that your sender needs to be clear, explicit, and consistent. When we say consistent, it needs to be consistent with your brand, consistent with who you are, and consistent through all your campaigns according to what you're sending. It should not be a free webmail account. We recommend against free web email services because they're generic, and generally they don't hold that much weight and value when you're sending out campaigns. So avoid generic addresses that end with Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail, and so on. And really just take the time to set up a proper domain like yourbrand.com. Make sure that you're also using an authenticated domain, meaning that you need to respect a few protocols that you need to set up using SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. This is especially important since the latest updates by Google and Yahoo that enforce authentication upon domains for campaign senders. Now remember, not more than 30 characters. You need to keep it short, and just to make sure that it tells us who you are. Must be also registered for at least 30 days. This has to do with your domain host. So make sure that before you're sending out your campaign, you have all these different elements checked out before. And it should not contain unnecessary dashes, slash, dots, anything that kind of breaks the flow of your domain. Now, before you're sending out your campaign, you need to remember that there are anti-spam laws in place that are very important and that you need to actively respect before you're sending out to people and to contacts. In Canada, you have the Castle Law, which is based on 3 main elements. The first one is the permission and proof of consent. Basically, when you're sending out to your contacts, you need to make sure that you have the permission from this person to send them content. They need to explicitly express interest that they want to receive communication from you. So you need to either keep that in writing, you need to scan it, keep an image, just a traceable proof that people have given you the permission to send them your content. You also need to add a physical address to your email. We need to be able to trace back your email to a physical address to just give us some kind of legitimacy. And finally, provide an unsubscribe link. Basically, what this law says is that you need to ensure that you have the permission to send, and that you to send to your contacts, and that they have the right to opt out of it if they wish to. In the United States, the equivalent to that would be the canned spam. Now, onto the fun parts of creating your campaign, choosing a template for your brand display or your content display. Now, this is very important because the template you choose will generally impact the way it's displayed onto different medias. So you need to keep in mind that it needs to be adapted to different platforms and to the different users and client contacts you're sending it to. A main point would be brand consistency when choosing your template. There are, again, different elements, but brand consistency would be a big one. For example, if you have a brand with a certain visual identity, then your email needs to be able to reflect that. For example, if we're sending out emails from Cake Mail, we have a very purple visual identity. So most of our headlines, most of our buttons are going to be following that pattern. They're going to be consistent with the logo and our other visual elements. I've put a few different examples here, just a few fun ones, just to give you a brief idea. For example, the logo in the middle has more reddish tints, so we're trying to bring that out in the email just to be, again, consistent with the brand. We also highly recommend customizing your email. Now, the good thing about email marketing is that it allows you to leverage all the information that you have on your contents on your contacts to personalize your content. Say, for example, you have information on their name, their age, their city, anything of the sorts, then you need to be using that to your advantage when sending out your campaign. For example, here I have the name of my sender, it's mine, but I will make sure to introduce that at the start of my subject line just to grab their attention, to personalize it and to make them feel more engaged with me and my brand. Also, do not hesitate to use visual dynamic elements like images, videos, and so on. Emojis as well are very, very fun to add and incorporate into your content because it can really liven up your content. It gives it life, it gives it a little bit of dynamic feel, and it's really, really nice for engaging with your audience. Here, for example, I've added pictures, I've added emojis, little bolder text. Of course, you can personalize it to your liking and make sure that it, again, aligns with your brand identity, but it's just a really, really fun way to bring life to your campaign. Just quickly keep in mind, it's a very, very important that you keep in mind that dark mode and mobile are sometimes unpredictable and that they can alter the way your campaign looks. Say, for example, a user is using their phone, or maybe they're using a tablet. You don't know that, but it can generally either crop out some of your details or maybe make it appear a bit more cluttered. So you really want to test out your campaign on different devices before you're sending it out. Also remember that nowadays more and more people started using dark mode, and sometimes the colors you wish to put do not translate the same way on dark mode. Say, for example, you have lighter tones to your campaign, then sometimes it can appear darker in dark mode. For example, here my little baby pink is turning into brown, and my text is maybe a little bit harder to read. So you want to play around with this and just test it out before you're sending it to all of your contacts, just to ensure it's translating the way you want. Now, onto the fun part. We're gonna get a quick demo so we can put all of this to practice. Now, as you can see, I've logged on to my Cakemail platform. I'm today logged in as Kitty Cats, which is a cat brand of my own. I'm a bit of a cat fanatic, and today we're going to be creating a campaign that aligns with that. Now, I'm just going to quickly grab your attention to different elements before you're actually starting out your campaign. Now, quickly, we talked earlier about the importance of your sender, and today I'm just going to quickly show you how you can set it up on Cakemail. As you can see, I've clicked on the little arrow just next to your name and your user, and I'm going to senders. Now, what this does is that it allows you to add different senders with different domains and different email addresses, and it allows you to see whether it's authenticated or not. Again, it's a very, very important part of the process because an unauthenticated domain often ends up in the spam box of your contacts. And that's really, really bad for your reputation, and it gives you no visibility with your audience. So you want to make sure that when you're sending out content, you're sending it from an authenticated domain. Now you can just click on this button, and this will give you all the steps that you will need to follow to get your domain authenticated. Once it is all good to go, you will see it appear blue. If it's not good to go, then it will appear as red or orange. Now, another important element we talked about is your brand. Cakemail has this really cool feature that allows you to import all your different brand elements onto your profile and account. What this does is that it allows you to add a logo. Say, for example, here I've already imported mine to stay along the kitty cat flow. I've added 2 different logos. I can choose which one to use. I can choose the format. I can play around with it. And I can naturally, of course, if you have different logos, then you can import as many as you would like. You can also import your text colors. I have a few already imported color variations. All I have to do is click on add new color, and then I can choose from the color wheel or directly import the reference if I have it. Now I've already imported mine, and I'm just gonna quickly pick them. I want my headlines to be bright and blue and my paragraph colors to be black, just to be clearer. Now you can play around with it. You can also import colors for your buttons, your background. It really just depends on what you wish to do. I really like pink, so I'm gonna go with the pink background. Once you're satisfied with the way that looks, you can just press publish and it will synchronize it to your account. So you make sure that all your different elements are properly imported. Now you can also do that in smart templates, which is a very cool feature that we have because it allows you to have already personalized templates, meaning that you will have templates that already have your logo, they already have your brand colors, and then you don't have to keep adding them to personalize your template. It's already pre-personalized. Now, I'm just gonna quickly take you to campaigns. Now, there are different ways you could be creating your campaign, your design. You could either click on create and then go to campaign, which will bring you to all kinds of fun templates that are completely free, by the way. So you could choose from them, and my internet's a little laggy, but anyways, that's a different choice of pre-designed templates that you can pick from. Now, the good thing with pre-designed templates is that you know they will display properly, meaning that you will not have random text popping up, the colors or text will get smudged together. You already know that this is designed to be displayed the way it is. So you can from our collection, or you could also start from scratch. Say, for example, you want a blank page, you can have that, or you can import your own HTML code and, you know, for the more advanced users, just import it and work on it directly on the app. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to campaign and I'm gonna go to smart templates. Now, we've talked about it just a second ago, And what this does is that it already personalizes your content for you, which is amazing because it spares you the hassle of having to import and click and add all the different elements each time. So I've clicked on a random template. And what this does is, as you can see, it adds my little logo. Oh, sometimes you've got to refresh. But yeah, we're just gonna jump onto the editor, which I'm gonna walk you through just so you can see and play around with the different elements that you want to be adding. Oop, as I said, my internet might be playing tricks on me today, but I'm just gonna quickly refresh my page and go to Smart Template. Again, just gonna pick a different template to play with. Just gonna give this a second. Sometimes stuff like this happen. We just gotta push along and play around with all kinds of formats. As you can see, it has finally opened and my brand is synchronized. I have my little logo over here and over there I have my titles. As you can see, it has my color palette, so glad we imported that earlier. And I'm just gonna quickly grab your attention to the right side of the screen where you can see different elements. I'm gonna start off with your settings. Now, what this area does is gives you general options for your campaign. So you could, for example, change the width of your content area. So say, for example, you want it to fit into larger screens and you want it to be really big and bold, then you can play around with that content area and you can just make it wider, or you could alternatively make it smaller. It all really depends on the way you want to display it, but today I'm just gonna keep it standard. I'm gonna keep it at 60. This also allows you to play around with your content areas. Say, for example, you want it to be leaning towards the left, then you could, or you could be keeping it centered to have maybe a more dynamic flow. Again, it really just depends on what you want to get across, what device you're using, and who you're trying to reach. You can play around with the background color. So say, for example, I want it to be a light pink. I'm just gonna play with the color wheel and then I'm gonna select a little baby pink. Once I'm satisfied with it, as you can see, it has changed my little background. And you know what? Maybe I'm not such a big fan of it. I can just go back to transparent or black or whichever works for you. But again, we've mentioned it earlier, it's really, really important that you double check before you're sending out your campaign, because as you can see, the colors can change a lot in how it is displayed and how your readers are seeing it. So again, in the settings, you can play with different elements. You can play with the colors, you can play with the content area, background color. So that would be this little column, like you have different columns and this is this is your background color and this would be your content area. Now let's pick a very nice and subtle color and I'm gonna pick out the same one here. We've talked about it earlier, but you can just copy and paste the reference to keep it consistent. Oop. Select the area and then select it. And what that does is, as you can see, it just changes everything. You can add background images. If you'd like to import a background image and just put it, you could do that. You just have to link it with a URL, or you can import it clicking on this button and either upload, import, or even search for free photos. Now, once you're satisfied with this part, I'm just gonna I can change my link colors, I can change everything, and I can optimize it, and I can personalize it to my liking. I can also add a preheader, which is a very fun feature because it spares you a lot of time, saves you a lot of time, and you could just say, for example, enter a little preheader, and that will display when your contacts receive it. Now we're going to be moving on to the rows. Now what this does is that it creates spaces in your campaign. Basically, it helps you to drop little blocks that you can just choose, drag, and drop wherever you like them. Say, for example, you don't like them, you don't like where that is placed, you can just click over here, and then there's a little bin that you can select, and this deletes the row you just created. Now I'm gonna try again. I'm gonna slide down a little, and I'm gonna pick maybe this one. And I wanna drag it, and I wanna drop it below the button here. Maybe my mouse is also playing tricks on me. But basically, the fun part about this little block area is that you can choose as many blocks as you want. For example, you have 6 pictures that you want to add, you can just add 6 blocks. Now, what this does is that it really just creates a space, but you can personalize that space however you would like. So say, for example, I want to drag and I want to drop it. I want to drop it here. Bit random, but we're gonna have to do with it. And I'm gonna choose a different one just so I can show you different elements that you can put into it. So I'm just gonna grab your attention, take it to content. Now that you've created a space with different spacings, you can add elements into them. That would be your content. Now, say, for example, you want to add an image. You could add an image here. And right next to it, you could add a paragraph. And you could customize this however you would like. But I'm just gonna take you back to the image. Now that I've dropped an image content, I can again click browse, and I can either upload it from my computer or import it, or even search for free photos. Now, as you can see, I've already imported some, so they're already in my file library. The cool thing is that you can build a library that you don't have to keep importing the same pictures over and over again. You can simply go and choose from them, or again, you could, for example, choose a free picture. Since I like cats, I'm gonna put cats, and I'm gonna be searching in the free stock library that they give me. Oh, I really like this one, so I'm gonna import it and insert. As you can see, it gives me this cute little picture here, and right next to it is a paragraph that I can personalize to my liking. I can add different things to it. But say, for example, you changed your mind and you don't want to have a paragraph. You can again just press the little bin, go back to content, and then you could add maybe a list. And this gives you bullet point. This is another cat list, more cat stuff. And you could just go on and just personalize it however you'd like. I'm gonna go over a few different elements again. So say, for example, you want to add a title, you could do that with different fonts, which is cool because you can personalize it simply by clicking on it, and then you have different title sizes, different title fonts. You could choose any from the collection that we have. So say, for example, you want to keep it simple, keep it Arial, or you could keep it a little bit more, special. You can really just adapt it to your liking. And once you're happy with it, I want a thin one, or maybe I want a dark, bold black one. I also want it to be bigger. I could do that. And I could also change the text color. For now, it's black, but I could maybe go for white, but as you can see, that's not gonna appear. So how about I go for some dark violet? You could align your text, justify it, put it in the center or the left, the right. It just really, again, depends on how you want it to appear. So what I always recommend is just to really just play around with the different blocks, play around with the different content, and just adapt it to your campaign and how you want it to be displayed. You could also add a divider. Say, for example, you're doing articles in your email, then maybe you want to separate them with something. You could simply add a content. You don't necessarily have to add the spaces, but the spaces allow you to drop things differently. So instead of having one column where you have to place one thing above or below the other, you could put them side by side. You could put many things side by side. Testimonies, for example, just depends on what you really want. One thing, you could also add buttons. I'm gonna drag and drop one here, and you can personalize it. See how that one's all around and cute, and this one's a little maybe more classic? You could change it to your liking. You can make it less centered again. You can play around with the color. Say, for example, violet. You can make it bigger. You can add maybe more weight, different fonts for your text. You could add letter spacing, so it's like maybe bolder and bigger. And you could change your borders. So for example, say you want that rounded up look, then you can just add border radius. And if you don't, then you can keep it square and box by keeping it very, very low. Let's say we want to keep it 50. We want it to be round and nice. You could also add padding. Padding is the space that you have between your text and the button. Say, for example, you want it to be really even, then you would have to maybe keep it all even towards all the different edges. See, that's a big, bold button. And again, if you don't like it, you can just toss it. See, what I really like, a really, really cool little feature I'm just gonna skip to, is that you can duplicate your different elements. Say, for example, I want the same row and I'm tired of writing, or I just want the same effects, then I can duplicate it. Or if I want a whole column to be the same, say, for example, we're gonna go back to the little one I've added. Say, for example, you really like it and you would like to use it across different campaigns. So not just this one, you want to be reusing it in the future, then you just have to click. Again, I'm just going to do it quickly again. Click here, and you see this little disk. That's going to allow me to save my row. I can add a description, I can add a tag to it, whichever you like. What this does is that it's going to save it, and you're going to be able to use it again in the future. See, I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to go to my saved rows, and I'm going to see it. And as you can see, I have my socials as well. That's already saved. And I will just be able to drag it and drop it. And I can modify it. Now, this is really cool if you're using maybe social media buttons and you don't want to have to, again, all the time add your socials over and over again, because, you know, maybe that's going to be tricky. Maybe you're going to get the link wrong. What you can do is that you can set them up and then you don't have to touch them again. For example, I'm going to do this here and I'm going to drop it over here. And I'm going to have it personalized already. I already have my links. I could have my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, whichever you like. And you don't have to keep inserting them over and over again. This is pre-saved. Now, since we're already talking about your socials, I'm gonna show you quickly where you can do that. It's in your contents and you can just add here. You have this little plus button, that's for your social media. Again, it creates another row. And the cool thing is that you could choose the different visual elements. Say, for example, I don't want Facebook to be first. I want Twitter to appear first. I could. And you can change the pictures. You can change different selections. Say you want something that's a little bit more dark, maybe something a little bit more neutered, or something more generic. You could do that. And all you have to do is, see, you have the URL. You could just copy and paste either the ending or just copy and paste the whole thing. And when people are going to click on it, they're going to be directly redirected to your account. So your Facebook page or your Instagram page, maybe your LinkedIn as well. And you could add new icons. Say, for example, you're also a YouTuber. Then you could add your little YouTube icon, and people could also be redirected to your channel directly. You could align it, center it, make it big or small, whichever you would like. Again, what I really like with this editor is that it really allows you to bring life to your vision. It gives you all the elements that you need to really personalize it. Say, for example, I want space. I can put it. If I want a video, I can do it. For example, here, I'm just gonna remove this one because I don't like it. It's big and bulky, but I wanna instead put a video. Now, the cool thing is that all you have to do is that you have to copy and paste a link, and this will directly display in your video. So, for example, I already have one. And what that will do is that it will directly import it. See, I've added the link and now I have my video in real time. And when people will receive my email, then they will directly see the little video, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty cool. What else? You could also add HTML code if you're a little more savvy with coding and maybe you want to add different things. Then you could do that with this HTML block that I'm just dropping here. When you drop it, you just have to click it and it opens up this little box that you can fill with your code. Now, I'm not going to touch on all the little elements. I really think it's really fun to kind of discover them in your own. You could be adding GIFs, you could add menus, different things. But what I'm really gonna grab your attention to is the little eye over here. Now, what this does is that it gives you a real preview of what your email is gonna look like, either on desktop or mobile. So now I get the full look on desktop. But now I can see what that looks like on my phone. As you can see, not optimal. It's a little bit sideways. It's not as centered as maybe you'd want. So these are really good things to take note of because you don't want people to look at your email and be like, oh, where's the end of it? So before sending it, make sure that you're taking a little sneak peek and making sure that it aligns properly. What a fun thing you could also do is switch to dark mode. Again, as we've talked about earlier, dark mode really changes depending on your colors. Turns out my little violet is a little bit too neon and the background doesn't quite align with my brand identity. The good thing is that the text is perfectly visible and this is good. So this is just something that you need to remember because the way it displays will be very different. This is how it will look on desktop. And again, we really recommend playing along with the different elements. Play around with the colors, play around with the titles, and make sure that the way this displays is the vision that you have in mind. Now, once you're happy with it, oh, fun thing as well is that you can also preview your links. So say, for example, you have some links here, you can click them and this will redirect you in real time. You could click on this. I don't have links on them, but if you did, then you could preview the way they redirect as well. Just gonna quit this. Say, for example, you're fully satisfied with your look. You will just want to press save. and continue. We talked about your subject line earlier. Again, this is a very important point. This is not your subject line, this is just the name of your campaign, so you can keep it for reference in the future. Kitty Demo. Here is your subject line. This is the one bold line that your contacts see, and that's very, very interesting and important. So you could have one that you have written maybe, or you could also use our AI generator that will automatically generate a subject line for you according to what you've put in the content of your email. So say, for example, you have mentions of sales, cats, anything of the sorts, it's gonna generate a personalized subject line that aligns with what's in the content of your email. Now, I'm not gonna do it because, as you've seen, this is a pretty standard blank email, so that's not gonna give me anything very interesting, but this is a very, very fun feature. This is your sender name. Again, very important. This is the name that your people, that your contacts are gonna be seeing. So it needs to be aligned with your identity. Here, for example, as you can see, this is Kitty Cat, this is my name, and between brackets, you will see your email address. So make sure that your domain is legit, real, and authenticated. And finally, you will be able to add the different elements like your contact list, different interests and segments. This is a fun feature that we often do webinars on, and I highly urge you to subscribe to our contact list webinars because they will tell you a lot about how to leverage your interests and segments. Finally, you can just choose a time, set it, and send it. But before you do that, you might want to send yourself a test email. You can just put your address, and what this does is that it sends you a real-time live version of your campaign, but as a test, meaning that it's only sent out to you, but not to everyone in your list. And that really shows you what that will look like before you're sending it. Now I think we've gone over most, if not all, of the different elements that you want to pay attention to. We're gonna have a fun little questions session, and if you have any other questions maybe, then we have a really good support team that you can reach out to anytime and any day, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Now we have a few different webinars that are lined up and that will come by very, very soon for the next season. But just make sure you're subscribed to us so you can receive the latest news.